Hey, what's going on, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so we're happy around here, man. Happy because our names are involved in rumors that we want to be a part of because it seems like our assets could possibly have raised their value to a space where we can actually get some things done without getting fleeced, which is a very, very big deal for Laker fans since we've been losing these trades that we've been having over the last several tries. So, uh, what I've been listening to is the different trade rumors that are going on. I believe our guy Bobby Marks went on ESPN and put up a bunch of trade options and scenarios that he thought could be available for Kyrie Irving with several teams that may be involved. The Dallas Mavericks, the Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, and I believe the Clippers were involved in that as well. But none of those trade packages looked any good at all, to be honest with you. If you're the Brooklyn Nets, you hated all of that stuff. I did. But to be honest with you, the Lakers trade package was the best one. Believe it or not, we had a first round pick, Lonnie Walker, Russell Westbrook's expiring contract, and I think that was all that was there. I think that was all that was there. Now, of course, this came from his, mind, so he had to obviously match the numbers and everything. But uh, I think the logic there is understanding that Kyrie Irving's not going to be worth a whole lot to other teams based on the fact that he's an expiring contract and is likely to um, walk. I think a lot of people think he wants to go to the Lakers or at least wants to negotiate with the Lakers next offseason. Also, the other different things that are attached to his name, which are more than obvious, we all know about. So I think there are a lot of concerns that he may not be able to perform. And teams are concerned about um, wanting to bring him back for next season or give him a long term deal. So these are one of those situations where you're going to see funny trade rumors for him, but ultimately I think he's going to be traded for something respectable because at the end of the day, he's playing at a high level. He's starting in the All Star game. He's playing for a contender, and he is on an expiring contract, which means that it's covetable. A lot of teams should want him as a rental. Even if you don't like him long term, you can bring him to your situation, and you know you're bringing an elite talent to your situation. So, for me, I'm a Laker fan. I don't want us to play games. Um, you know, whatever the price is, we'll weigh that against what is out there. I think we should pay it. You know what I mean? If we should not lowball them because the price tag is funny on him. It's really only funny on him because he's trying to force his way here. You see what I'm saying? So it's one of those situations where yeah, you have the leverage. You definitely have the leverage if he's trying to force his way here. But if for some reason he's not trying to force his way here, then it's about whether or not they can take the best package. And if an owner just wants to take a chance and doesn't really care about you, if you're the Lakers, one of your rivals, they may just up the package just to keep him out of your hands. And that's why I'm saying you shouldn't really play games in this situation. A lot of times you want to low ball, especially when you have all the leverage. But in really tricky situations like this, where the player you have is expiring and could be negotiating with someone else less than 6 months from now, you don't want to toy around with that. You don't want to run the risk of somebody saying, you know what, if we get him in this room with us, maybe we can get him to take a pay cut. Maybe we win a championship if we get the right situation. You just don't want to toy with that. If you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you want to get him on your team. So obviously the Lakers have other options too. So that's not necessarily the point of view of the front office. But if you're trying to accomplish what it is that we feel they've been waiting for, which is this particular situation to open up, then you don't want to mess it up. You know what I mean? If there were other packages you could have gotten, um, you know, and we settle on something else, the only thing that most Laker fans are going to be wondering, depending on what the package is why didn't we do it sooner? Why in the heck didn't we make that happen before we've gotten to this hole that we find ourselves in? In this situation, most of us said, okay, well, we know the front office would like to bring in Kyrie Irving. We know LeBron wants Kyrie Irving. So it was a good chance we were going to try to get him at the deadline. If for some reason we end up giving up our picks or a pick for him at this deadline, it's basically worth it to all the fans because we knew that was going to be the plan. Now, I have heard some fans, rumbling. Some people are concerned based on most of the regular stuff. They're worried about what was posted. A lot of people are worried about whether or not he's going to be able to, suit up for us and be consistent, or whether or not he's going to choose to walk away from the game for any reason at all during the season. Um, Injury issues and things of that nature. Obviously, people know that things went a certain way in Boston. So, people are concerned. People are really concerned. I get it. There's also a lot of fans like myself who are super excited about bringing him in, uh, you know, to no end. And then there are people like myself, even further, who have other concerns about how he's going to be used and what the plan is going to be once we get him here. And will we be able to do some things that help ourselves outside of his position that ultimately make us a champion um, as well. So these are the things that I'm thinking about. When you bring Kyrie to your team, it just further reinforces the truth that you're intending to win a championship. You know, with respect to Russell Westbrook, I think the energy shifts. It's a different vibe around here. People expect to win. And although we expect that now, it ain't going to be the same thing as when he gets here. Now it's going to be like, all right, Darvin Ham needs to do certain things. Front office needs to make sure the roster looks a certain way. And it won't be as much of an excuse allowed from anybody, in my opinion. Once we settle in, everyone's made the trades necessarily. You know what I mean? So as far as everyone asking us to do more to get for them to perform at their highest level, or do more for them to settle in to their roles as Lakers, that should be no more. We should be in a space where both sides, players and ownership, should be ready to finish this season and win a championship. So I expect everybody to play their part, man. And I've seen not enough, as we've talked about a great deal. So that's where I'm at as far as my concerns, But health is everything for our core, and that would not be anything less than true if Kai comes in. But it is what it is. We've had our issues with continuity. We've had our issues with guard rotation situations and stuff like that. So, bringing in Kyrie Irving, I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air for all of us if we can pull it off. And I see no reason for us not to. When you look at some of those packages that were also up there, they're talking about back of the bench players and bad contracts. Miami's package comes to mind. They had Kyle Lowry on there, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin. If you're Brooklyn, you can't go for that. You can't bring your fan base that in return for Kyrie Irving. They're going to go crazy. And most importantly, KD's going to want out. That is probably going to happen anyway, though. I think ESPN has their own agenda, and they're trying to more or less maneuver the situation themselves, I think. But that's not surprising. But it seems to me that they're already trying to get the rumblings going that KD's going to want out. And it's like, by way of the circumstance, it stands to reason why he would. But it just depends on how he feels about what they can do in rebuilding around him and how quickly they can retool around him. And that's my thing. It's like, even if he has faith in that, it's definitely not going to be as quickly as he wants it to be. So, I mean, that's just what the tea leaves show us, that the likelihood that he'll want out is pretty high, man. He's going to want that probably right now, too. So we mentioned that earlier today. We won't be caught off guard if for some reason it's a huge trade that he's involved in. We will not be. You guys know me. I was throwing out scenarios that I thought made sense throughout the summertime. And I've always said that the easiest thing for the Lakers and the Nets to do was to trade Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That was what I said probably back in like May or June, probably around the finals or something like that. I was saying that because I looked at the numbers and they just made sense. And I looked at the Nets and I said, I don't believe in y'all. When they got swept, I was like, it's over with. They should probably load it up right then and there. And so I was thinking about what needed to happen, and I had my concerns about Anthony Davis' health at that time, of course. So that's where my head went. I'm like, all right, I want Kyrie on this team, but if it came down to it, who would I rather have, KD or AD? Well, I said KD quickly at the time. I mean, it wasn't hard for me whether AD's healthy or not. I just tiered him a little higher with respect. It just is what it is. But for me, it was more so about the health of AD and whether or not I would really want to take him, a younger player, him over KD, a guy who's a bit older, but somebody who's also had some injury issues. But it just came down to me at the time, was just the concerns of AD's injury issues and the fact that I did tier KD a bit higher. Now, since then, we've seen things change a lot, and KD's had his injury issues, AD's had his injury issues this season, so neither one of these teams are really interested in doing anything like that in my mind. But it is the easiest thing to do for the Nets at this point. If they could pull something like that off, it would make life easy in regards to the transaction. So for the Lakers, again, I don't know where their head would be in regards to something like that right now. I don't even think anybody's thinking like that. But once you start considering KD coming up for trade, then you start thinking about the return and what they can get for KD and how you have to move him around and stuff like that. Um, I wonder if the situation in regards to the contracts, for example, the Ben Simmons contract being a deterrent for getting certain players in return, you know what I mean? I wonder if that has lifted since it's been 6 months, but I'm just not aware. But I'd imagine it's going to be just as difficult to make a trade for KD, especially in such a short window of time. So what KD's going to have to respect is the fact they're probably not going to be able to get it done. If they're going to be scrambling around trying to get Kyrie traded, unless they can pull it off right now, which I don't think they're going to do, they're going to probably drag that all the way up to the deadline. And if that's the case, they ain't going to be trading KD unless they can lump them together in the same trade, which brings me back to what it is I said. So that always made the most sense to me, but it just doesn't seem like there's no tea leaves really pointing toward the Lakers wanting to move AD for KD last minute right now. There's nothing pointing at that. But I'm just telling you that's what I was thinking, and it would shock me. I'm not gonna say that wouldn't shock me, but I'm telling you I'm fathoming it right now. Like that it wouldn't be outside of my mind. So I'm just letting people know what I think there. And Karl Anthony Towns comes to mind too. I know they need to move him in Minnesota. We've talked about this, and trading him for Kevin Durant would be something. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I definitely want to do, and if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, I definitely want to do. So nobody's thinking about that, but they will be if they see my video, because that's a real thing. Now, if you're A-Rod, do you really want to do that? Probably not necessarily because of the age difference. But as I told you, you want to get out from under that contract because they're so log jammed. And they have two centers that can't really play together unless they have a real point guard setting them up. And they don't have that. Anthony Edwards don't want to do that. And D'Angelo Russell isn't that. And they can't acquire that without dumbing down their talent, so to speak, and getting a lesser facilitator from which to do that. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Move Karl Towns for a piece that doesn't require that, and then Kevin Durant can kind of fit in with D'Angelo Russell, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, and you would have a ridiculously talented basketball club without Karl Anthony Towns that could probably still compete for a championship. I'm talking about Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant. Like, that's a problem, man. They can mess around and just trade D'Angelo Russell and Rudy Gobert for something else to bring to them some real other pieces that maybe make a little more sense. But I feel great about that. If I got to go forward for the next 4 years, I don't think Anthony Edwards is going to exactly run away from an aging Kevin Durant. No, that's easy buckets all over the place. So for me, that's just something I'd be dreaming about if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves, trying to figure out how to move forward and understanding that Karl Anthony Towns is a piece that can get you a lot, but I don't know if he's going to get you anything better than Kevin Durant on a 3-year contract. You know what I'm saying? And that's something I'd be thinking about. Because it just seems like the pieces don't fit to me in Minnesota. They never did fit. But they mortgaged everything for Rudy Gobert, and they got to try to find something to make sense in regards to that. If you bring KD to Rudy Gobert, they fit each other's timeline a bit better too. Rim protection, so KD doesn't have to worry about that. And mind you, you're going to be ridiculous defensively just the same, because Kevin Durant can defend. We know that. I don't know if he want to be in Minnesota, but I don't think he'd rather be where he's at, given the fact they don't look like they're going to win anything. At least over there, he'd have a better chance, seems to me. I don't know. He'd have better options as well, but again, we're not thinking about it from his perspective. We're thinking about it from Minnesota's and Brooklyn's. And you consider if you're Brooklyn, bringing Karl Anthony Towns to your situation, him and Claxton, that's a serious front court. You got Ben Simmons, your defense is pretty good. And we know that Karl Anthony Towns is not a defender, so he needs those players to help what it is that he doesn't do. So as I look at that situation, I say, okay, Ben Simmons, who doesn't shoot, can set up these shooters, and Karl Anthony Towns, Claxton doesn't shoot, but you can probably move him if you want to and get another player to make some more sense. If that's what you want to do, Claxton can get you a lot because he's an all-star level player over the next several years. So I'm looking at how Brooklyn can do that. You can say, okay, we don't have to reset everything if we do that. We can just retool. We may be losing Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, but we're going forward in the Karl Anthony Towns era. So that's just something I'm brainstorming. Just brainstorming, because what you want to sell the Brooklyn fans is something. And let's think about the fact that Karl Anthony Towns is from the New York area. Does that make sense? Yeah. So these are the type of things you just brainstorm and you try to figure out how teams can settle a situation. Obviously, KD, like I said, he would have better places he would want to go. But would Brooklyn bring back a better return than Karl? I don't know. I don't think so. So that's what I'm thinking, man. These are things that you can consider. Obviously, Chris Paul's contract comes to mind, even though nobody won't dare touch that. But they are going to want to move it. I look at Miami and Kyle Lowry's contract, Duncan Robinson's contracts. They're going to have to, try to subtract those things somehow. Their salary matches. So what that means is you can add them in a bunch of picks, plethora of assets, overwhelming, including Bam and probably Jimmy and all kinds of other stuff that you would have to make it make sense in order to get KD to Miami. But I don't think there would be anything that they wouldn't do to try to bring him there, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any piece they wouldn't move. And then Phoenix, if they could pair up Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, they'd probably try to win a title. That pairing, that would be pretty deadly. Moving Ayton, possibly. So these are the type of things you brainstorm, man. You think about how you can move heaven and earth to get him to where he would ultimately want to go, which is one of those two places he said initially. I don't know if that's changed since, but these are the things you'd want to be thinking about last minute if you're the Brooklyn Nets, and he talks about he wants to be traded because Kyrie asked for the trade. So if the Brooklyn Nets aren't thinking about these two things simultaneously, it's going to be rough on them trying to make a good deal. But see, they should have saw this coming. If I was in that Brooklyn Nets front office, we would have been thinking about this the entire season. This would have been something we were planning for the entire time. So if they're caught off guard by this, somebody needs to be fired, straight up, because this is not something that should have caught people off guard. And people saying that they're caught off guard by this is hilarious to me. Kevin Durant saying he's caught off guard by this, I don't know what the hell these people are looking at. There's nothing about this that wasn't foreseeable. Nothing at all. I want to make that very clear. Anybody who follows me know I've been talking about this once a month. This ain't nothing new. Everybody saw this coming. And the people who didn't see this coming or the people who didn't want to see this coming. Either you're going to pay him or you're going to trade him. I told y'all, Brooklyn. He's not the type of piece that you let walk. He makes too much money. Just like Russell Westbrook. You're not going to do that. You're going to bluff about it. But if you can get him off your books before the trade deadline, it will be executed. You know that? And I know that. And that's why I thought it was going to be done. So, Jakob Poeltl's another one. He's on the move. Unless they plan on signing him, which I don't see coming. He is on the move. And the only way he ain't on the move is if they decide to move a contract they already got for somehow to free up the salary that they are not going to give him. So, yeah, just look for San Antonio to get involved and for Jakob to be on the move as well. Maybe he lands in Brooklyn, And maybe they don't look for a center. I just keep sending centers up there. Maybe they don't, but again, these are options. So that's what we're thinking about, man. Brooklyn Nets, you're on the clock. The Los Angeles Lakers told you a long time ago what it was. This deal has been on the table for you guys the whole time. So I'm happy Kyrie has pushed the door open for this to take place. And I know the fans in Brooklyn are not happy. But he's not leaving you. He's leaving Joe. He ain't leaving you. He ain't leaving KD. He ain't leaving Ben Simmons. He's leaving Joe Tsai. You can't treat people like that, man. You can't. Now, if he came out and did a lot and it was coming out doubling down on the bad stuff and saying, I don't care, and this is that and this, and then it's a different story. But if a guy says, I'm sorry, follows all of your criteria, you come out, and this is where I personally think he went too far. You come out and say, I sat down with him and my family and my wife, and we've come to terms that he's a good guy, but he still has more work to do. Once you start saying stuff like that, it becomes an understanding that even if we are on the same page, you still going to have a little bit of a thing where you're going to need to have an edge on me. And because of that, as a free mind, I have to liberate myself from your circumstance. I can't be in that tug of war with you because it's different frequency than what I'm on. And so that's why I think Kyrie was on. It's like, nah, I'm not going to get into a tug of war with this individual, while he's on a different thing. He's trying to manage himself, it seemed to me, or manage what matters to him in regards to how he treats others. You feel me? It's like, I can't get caught. I'm not a part of that. You know, that's between you and the people you're trying to impress. And so that's how I looked at that situation with Joe Tsai, man. I'm not gonna let you sit here and buck break me so you can look strong. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna leave. Thank you for allowing me to use your facility for 3 years, whatever. It was cool, but you're on some other stuff. And I'm telling you, Kyrie Irving is who he did it to. But everybody was watching. So the mass exodus from Brooklyn is just beginning. You think that was the end? Everybody wants out of there. Everybody. And don't get it twisted. I ain't heard nobody say this, but it's just the understanding that you can't do this to people. You can't make people feel like their ability and what it is that they're bringing to the business ain't enough. That they gotta live up to some type of moral standard just to work for you. You know what I mean? They gotta bend and break to a certain degree if for some reason there's a disagreement. Now I know you're gonna be retaliating against me for weeks and months and seasons at a time, depending on how maybe we parted the road at a certain point. I can't go forward with you if I know that's the case. Not if I know what I'm doing. Because I know we're going to end up bumping heads again, and the next time it's probably going to go worse. And you're going to want to have the upper hand, whether you're right or wrong. And in that situation, I get the lower hand. I get the shorter end of the stick because I don't own this and you do. So, sayonara, slave owner, I'm out. That's how that got to be. So I'm not sure how Joe Tsai goes forward as an owner. I know they just kicked out homie from the Suns. Joe's next. He can't do nothing. Because he's bad for business at this point, because not only am I viewing him this way as a fan, but the entire conglomerate's viewing him this way. Because he just did that in front of everybody. And so it's like, all right, bro, that's not how we do things here in America. You just did something that disrespected an entire race of people if they were paying attention. So now, it's going to be difficult for you to get high-level talent because of it. Yes, you got Brooklyn, but just the same, people are just going to say, okay, well, we'll go there when he sells the team. No different than the situation that took place with Jim Buss. Wasn't nobody gonna come here while Jim was running things. Get him out of here, people show up. It's gonna be the same thing for Joe. So for Brooklyn fans, this is what it is, man. Y'all might want to, do what you got to do to get him out of there, bro. Because as long as he's there, y'all gonna have lesser talent. I'm telling the truth. But we don't play games here. We're not here to make things worse for anybody. We're just telling you what we see. And I'm telling you, you can't do that to black people. The whole league, like a good, 80% of the league's black? And you're going to do that to Kyrie Irving? One of the most respected one of us all? Yeah, good luck. So that's how that goes for Joe Tsai, man. And like I said earlier on a post, and the fans pay for it. It's the Brooklyn fans who are watching a good product, but know that product has to dissipate. As I said 2 or 3 weeks ago before any of this happened. They know that product is just not going to be there because of the owner, because of the GM, and because of people that ain't got nothing to do with the court. Things that are going on in the court, the coaching, or none of that. Nothing to do with the unit. But because of the people above it, the unit has to suffer. And it's just a story that we see far too often. You know what I mean? It's one of the reasons why I speak as much as I do. Because I've seen it all my life in sports. And it's just unnecessary. Unnecessary. So this is what we talk about. This is why we speak the way we have about this team, the Brooklyn Nets. Even though I'm a Laker fan, I tell everybody that my allegiance is solely with purple and gold. But we pay attention to other teams, especially when teams have players that have had circumstances that have been a bit controversial. We want to pay attention to what's going on there. And a lot of those situations, you scratch and sniff and you're going to find nonsense that sometimes has to do with the players, sometimes doesn't at all. You know what I mean? And so that's what I've seen here with Kyrie Irving and his Brooklyn situation. They've acted up. The way that they said he's acted up, they've acted up. And now it's time for them to pay for that, simply put. So Kyrie let everybody know it wasn't about the money. They couldn't offer him a max contract. He was getting the hell out of there. Well, of course. There's no way around it. I told y'all that as soon as they did that. I'm like, man, look, I'm going to tell you what the energy was. You know how it is when somebody is content? I think I've used the analogy before, but when she's throwing all your stuff out the house, you're in trouble. But when she places everything outside very neatly, you're never getting it back in the house. Like, you're never getting back in there. That's kind of what it was. Once Kyrie Irving started, quote unquote, capitulating to some of those things on that list, some of the things that ultimately they said he must do, I was like, oh yeah, he gonna get him on the back end. There's no way he's resigning there. There's no way. Man got pride. You kidding me? Like, he just posted something that was controversial enough that was gonna rally all of you guys up. He walked away from the vaccine that the world told him he must get. Like, you really think he was gonna be back broken? Like, buck broken rather? And then from there, just gonna roll over and just kind of let it happen. I mean, regardless of what you think of the man, you gotta respect the person who has some pride. I mean, he's at the top of his class of what it is that he does. He beats people at what he does every day. So it's not like he's just gonna roll over and capitulate to you. It's like, these are the type of things, like, they don't even think about these type of things. Like, are you elite at anything, Joe Tsai? Like, have you ever broken anybody down on the basketball floor and watched them just fall over because of what it is you've done? That type of mathematics, that mindset, and that type of feel, it comes with a competitiveness. You can see it on the court. So there's no way he was going to roll over, bro. That's why this should have never caught him off guard. You're dealing with a competitor on the court. Why the heck would you think he was going to roll over in a situation like that? It's a mental situation. Think about it. Whatever you're doing, you deal with the pressure of it, right? He's dealing with the pressure of what he deals with on the court as well. And so it's like they face these certain types of pressure. So it's like, if you're going to have a mental battle with a person like that, you do understand, depending on how well they are, how competitive they are, they may not roll over in situations where it may seem logical to you that they will, based on your psychology and whatever the heck you guys are using. Like, no, the defiance of a person. Come on, man. So that's one of those situations where it's like, I just felt like they misread Kyrie Irving completely. And because of it, they probably were caught off guard by this. But nobody who actually knew of Kyrie Irving's energy and what he was putting out through the world would have been. He was never going to go for that. So that's what I got to say, man. I know that people have to play stupid on purpose. But it is kind of funny to watch from the outside. Whatever the case may be, I know people are getting rich and it's a good thing. So more power to all of y'all, man. One thing I do want to see is the tweet that LeBron James tweeted with the eye emoji and the crown be followed with the ability for Rob Pelinka to follow through on that pressure. Yes, that's what I hope is. And Phil Handy tweeting the eye emoji as well. That's pressure. That is pressure applied, ladies and gentlemen. I know exactly what I'm looking at there. Y'all better get it done type energy. You know what the hell should be going on? Remember that quote? That was what LeBron was actually referring to. This exact trade. Yeah, I'll let that sink in. When everybody was killing him for saying it, what is he supposed to say? He's trying to put him on pressure to move his teammates. No. We all know what the hell should be going on. He should be reunited with Kyrie Irving in Los Angeles so that they can continue their quest for more championships together. This is what he should have been able to articulate, but wasn't able to, because otherwise it would have been like Kyle Kuzma hating behind said, tampering. It's supposed to be on the end of that. But anyway, whatever, man. Whatever. People hate. But you know what? We can't do nothing about the haters but beat them, man. That's all we can do. Get our team together, assemble our squad together, and knock each and every one of them off. That's what our job is. We got to be competitors again. It can't just be about the same old stuff if you're a Laker fan. And the same old stuff is, let's see how many minutes so-and-so has and all these other things we've been complaining about all day. We want to put all that aside and just strategize an opportunity to overwhelm people. And with the talent that we're trying to put together, if we pull off this trade, we should be able to help ourselves to that very, very healthy dose against everybody, including Memphis and all these other teams that like to talk a lot. This gives us enough talent to at least face them and for bucket. Simply put, we can face them bucket for bucket. So Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss not to get cheap here, man. Don't be cheap here. Do not be cheap here. And there's something that needs to be said. I think Kyrie Irving's 31 years old, something like that. Whatever the dollar amount is for his free agency, if he's able to deliver on 82 games of what it is he does, there's no amount that there is in this league that he probably doesn't deserve. He's a very elite talent who can do things that the very best cannot do. So I know there's certain things that he's not going to be able to do based on him being a smaller player, and those things need to be taken into account just as they would be with your Trae Youngs and Damian Lillards and Steph Currys. But at the end of the day, I don't look at him as much different than some of them dudes. The only thing in his way is him choosing to play through difficult circumstances. difficult. You know what I'm saying? Nobody said life is easy, but we got to be consistent and take it out on the floor. Kobe took it out on the floor. Whatever was going on in the world, he took it out on the floor. You know what I mean? And that's the place you're coming to. I'm not telling you got to be Kobe. We compare LeBron James to Kobe to no end, and I know he hates it, but we do it because we know that there are things that Kobe did that he can implement into his game and win. And Kyrie needs to understand that we need him to do those same things. Implement a certain willpower about yourself to fight through the pain and take it out on the court, take it out on the other team. And so he's been good at that in Brooklyn. I know he's got different focus now, but he's got to commit. You know, it's not about the money here. Not with fans like me. Not if you're paying attention to us and you focus on who's really rooting for you. We don't give a damn about that. What we care about is every possession counting. Shots get missed, who cares? Defensive assignments get blown, we make mistakes. But we try to stay focused. We work on our mistakes. And most importantly, we do not roll over. This regime, they're on some other stuff. I'm not talking about who's in control of this. I'm talking about what it really stands for. We do not roll over. And so that's what's in place before them. That's what's going to be in place after them, because we're going to continue to pass that on to new Laker faithful. That's what it's about, man. And so I feel like Kyrie Irving already understands that. And if he happens to be able to put on this uniform, I think he's going to uphold that with a certain level of respect because of his brother, 24. You don't put on, this ain't Brooklyn. No disrespect to anybody in Brooklyn. The Nets mean to a lot of people, but this is a different vibe here, man. You know what I mean? And so when you put this on, we expect the excellence that don't come out of nothing that you've ever put on in Cleveland. With respect to the Celtics, we don't know what they're about. But whatever it is, we're the opposite of it. Straight up. So when you stepped on that eye, you did that in salute to us, because you best believe every single last one of us was stepping on it with you. You better believe that. Every last one of us, for every reason you did, in regards to myself. And so that's what I think, man. I think we're inheriting somebody who's serious about beating the Celtics specifically, just like LeBron James, and that means a lot to us. Even though we already seen them twice this season, we'll see him again, and hopefully he'll be a part of it. Hopefully we can get all the way to the end, and they will be there, so that we can stop them, like we're supposed to do, man. That's what it's about. So that's where my head is. If someone else happens to be there at the end, we want to beat them too. You know what I mean? It ain't about specifically who we beat. It's just that we win. That's it. So that's what we're welcoming him to. A winning organization. If he happens to be a Laker, I think it's gonna happen. That's why I'm speaking so matter of factly. I think it is. But if it happens not to happen, this is what we're about. You know what I mean? This is who we are, regardless who's putting on the uniform. Said the same thing to Russell Westbrook. Say the same thing to Damian Jones. We want everybody to win here. And if you put on this uniform, that's the same expectation, whether you're the superstar or the last line of defense. You know, at the end of the day, you hold this thing together. And so that's what we want, man. We need somebody to come in here and help our coach. He needs, and when I say help, not do his job for him, not come in here and be a leader in that way, but just a leader on the floor, time management situations, making sure that we're not turning the ball over, making sure that we're doing what we need to do to just make these possessions a bit smarter. You know, basketball IQ is the issue. We're intent and we play hard, but smart. That's what we're hoping you'll help us with, Kai. Help us with that. And so I'm sure Anthony Davis will respect me when I say that I didn't have him in mind with that, because obviously he wasn't on the floor and he's a brilliant basketball player. LeBron James is obviously brilliant too, but he's one man. He's one man surrounded by different people, and it's just about getting more people around him that can help him with those things specifically. So that's what it's about, man. We expect that now that Anthony Davis is back, we got Rui Hachimura in place. We're getting a lot more out of the guys that we played throughout the season because those other guys haven't been there. So we know our entire team. It's only about 2 guys on this team we actually really feel like maybe shouldn't be here in regards to the talent level. And the rest is a bunch of guys who can really go, man. So that's what it's about. And we got a bunch of dudes in the G League that can go too that they are not using for some reason. But y'all know we advocate for every last one of them as well. That's how serious we are. We serious about our team, man. And if you follow BDF44, that's exactly what I'm about. I'm one of many voices that echo this Mamba mentality, Laker lore type deal. We're really serious about it. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. So I'm hopeful we can make a video welcoming Kai within the next couple days. I'm hopeful the Nets will do all they need to do to see the fruit and moving on from him at this moment and not continuing this battle, this tug of war that's ultimately going to leave them with the shortest end of the stick. And stop this spiteful nonsense. Stop spiting this dude for not seeing the world the way you do. A lot of people ain't going to see the world the way you do, and you can't pluck away at each and every one of them just because you're unhappy about what you see there. It's just going to make you look worse and worse and worse in the eyes of others who are watching you do it. So that's what's happened here, man. Good luck to Brooklyn fans regardless. I hope to see you get a good return. I would love to see you get Karl-Anthony Towns. I really would. I think that would at least make you feel a little better about your circumstance if something like that were to occur. And I do think Minnesota should do that. I don't think that Minnesota should think twice at all. You look at your books, you look at what your outlook looks like, and you understand you don't have no damn choice. You really don't. So that's what I gotta say, man. That's what I gotta say. None of this is new. Because if you've been following me all summer, you know we've had conversations about this. So if you go back and look at some of those videos on the Brooklyn Nets, you'll see more of what I think in regards to Kyrie Irving's situation there, and then ultimately my thoughts of him coming here. We've talked about it all. So that's what it is, man. And we'll make more videos and as we feel like it. You know how I am. No script at all. We just talk and let the tea leaves tell us what we need to know. So that's what I got, man. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching.